If you want to build dashboards in Monday.com that you can trust, you're in the right place. In this video, I'm going to teach you everything there's to know about Monday.com dashboards. And by the end of this video, you'll be able to create your own custom and advanced setup. Hi, I'm Patrick, and over the past 6 years, I've helped over 150 businesses build systems in Monday.com. If you need help with your custom Monday project, you can reach out to me via the link in the description below. So without further ado, let's get started. By the way, if you want to be inspired by over 30 dashboard examples, you can download them for free via the link in the description. So here we are in Monday. The first step to create a dashboard is to have data, because dashboards only visualize data. They don't contain any data. So data is hosted on a board. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that you have a board with information, just like I have right here with a deals board. When you have a board like that, you can actually go to the blue plus icon and click on it. Then click on dashboard. Here you can add a dashboard name. So in my case, I'm going to call it an example dashboard. Then it will ask you for your privacy setting. If you keep it at main, everyone in the company can see it. If you do private, it's like invite only. Only the people you invite to the dashboard are able to see it, whatever you prefer. Then I click create dashboard. The first thing you need to do is connect data sources. So you connect your board to the dashboard. I would recommend, if you're first starting out, to only connect one dashboard to get started. Because when you connect multiple, some things can get more complex. I'll show you that later in the video, but for now, let's start with one. In my case, it's my deals board. So I click on it. If you don't see your board, just use the search bar to search for the board name. For example, I have a marketing task board, and there you go, it shows up. To select it, just click. To deselect it, just click once again. As you can see, you can also select multiple, but we're not going to do that for now. Click done. What you'll see here is one board is connected. If you want to connect more boards in the future, or if you want to disconnect boards, you can click there again, and you can connect and disconnect them from here. Then you can click done again. That's the first thing about connecting data sources. Then we're going to add our first widget. So click here to add a widget. And maybe you don't know what a widget is, so I'll show you in a second. If you click there, you'll see all types of widget options. Let's just get started with a chart widget, for example. If you click there, you'll probably see some data, as you can see here. If not, I'll show you what to do. Because the most important thing about widgets is that if you click on these three dots, you can actually go to the widget settings. And this is where you can set up your widget. On the right hand side, the widget settings show up, and it all starts with a chart type. Chart types are great to, select multiple chart types. So in this case, it's a bar chart, but we can also change it to a pie chart or a line chart or bubbles. There's many different things you can do, and they all have their own functionality and their own setup sections. Let's just start with a bar chart, for example. Let's close it and go to the x-axis. This means that you can determine what information needs to be shown on the horizontal line of your dashboard. In my case right now, it's the status column, but maybe I want to show something else. You can do that by clicking here, and then you can select whatever you want to put on the horizontal line. Maybe it's person, for example. I have no information apparently in the person section. So as you can see, no results were found. Let's go for something else like group. And now you have different data. You can also do name, and then you would see all the deals in my deals board. As you can see, there's many different things that you can do. I would just put whatever you want to put on the x-axis, and then we can get started with the next step. So we go to the y-axis. What type of information is on the vertical line of this chart? By default, as you can see, it says count items. So it will just count the amount of items with this specific status. In my example, 8 deals were lost, 8 deals were won, and 2 are in a proposal stage. But maybe we don't want to see it on, the amount of, we don't care about the amount of deals, we care about the deal value. So we turn off count items and we turn on deal value. And as you can see, now we have a completely different dashboard. Very interesting. If you like to see things with regards to calculations, such as the average value for lost deals, you can also do that by going here and making some changes. So let's click average, and as you can see, now things change. You can also do a minimum, maximum, or the median. This is something that you can play around with to create the boards that you like. Then we also have a customize section. There's some things about coloring, so you can, for example, color each of them. This is more of an aesthetic related thing, so I won't really go into detail. But basically, if you, for example, see proposal and you'd rather see it in a different color, you can do so from here. Then sorting by, I personally prefer it, for example, if the y-axis is descending, so the biggest thing starts on the left-hand side and it goes down. Other people prefer it otherwise. You can just play around with this to see what kind of dashboard setting you prefer. Then there's some more things showing only, for example, the top or bottom items. So maybe it's only for you relevant to show the top 5 items or the top 3. As you can see, this doesn't really affect the current one. But if I were to put, for example, let's say name here, as you can see, now it actually does affect it. So if you want to, for example, make the top 5 biggest deals, we go for the top 5 items, and there you go. We have the top 5 biggest items or deals of my board. So I'll go back to a status column for now. And usually the best way to learn this stuff is just to click around, play around with it and see what kind of dashboard you create. Think of what you like to create and then just think of what kind of settings do I need to actually build this thing. Trial and error goes very far here. I really recommend just clicking around because you can't really break anything. And if you do, you just remove the widget and you start over. Awesome. So we have cumulative data that you can also show. There's also showing empty values if you have, empty status labels, for example. In my case, that's not the case. We have some benchmark lines and these are actually super valuable. So let's say we have a deal value and the target deal value is $20,000. Then you might want to see a nice line there. You can do that with benchmark lines. So as you can see here, we have a benchmark line. We give it a value such as 20,000. And as you can see, the line shows up. Let's give it a name such as minimum deal size. As you can see, it shows up here, minimum deal size. Doesn't really look very nice in this view actually. And we can give it a different color if we want to. You can also add multiple lines if you want to. So you can do whatever you want here. It's a great thing, a great feature about the Monday dashboards. So I would highly recommend that you check it out. Then some final things. Sometimes when you connect multiple boards, you actually don't want to include data from certain boards in your widget. So you can turn them on and off from here. Same thing for groups. If you only want to show data from certain groups, you can turn your groups on and off from here. Interesting thing. If we close this one, we now see our new dashboard widget. But as you can see, it might be a little bit too compact. We actually want to make it bigger. You can do so by clicking on the blue circle icon here. Clicking and you can drag and drop to make it bigger, smaller, basically whatever you prefer. So you can create your own dashboard. Then another thing to keep in mind is that if you click here, you can actually change the name of your widget, such as deals by status. So you can see all the deals by status. If you want to, have multiple widgets, that's of course possible, but you might want to drag and drop your widget around, which you can do by holding this icon here. You can just drag and drop it to whatever place you like. This is a very important thing to understand. Another thing that I like about Monday's dashboards is that if you hover over a widget, you can actually see more information. And if you click on it, you can actually see all the deals or items that are related to that part. In this case, we have 1 deals. If I were to click on this, I actually see the 1 deals and a table of all the 1 deals that it consists of. So I can see all the information. Very important and interesting thing. Another interesting thing about widgets is that you can filter in a widget. So this option will give you the option to, or this icon will give you the option to filter information. So maybe in this case, we only want to see deals by status, but we only want to see it for open deals, which means that we need to filter out all the lost and won deals. To do that, go to the filter widget and here you can start filtering. The first thing you need to select is the board. So if you have multiple boards connected to your dashboard, you can use all boards. If you have 1 board selected, you can use the board itself. The first option is especially helpful if you work with multiple boards that are the same. So if you, for example, have a board for each client that you're connecting to one dashboard and each of those boards are the exact same, they are identical, then you can filter all boards because they all have the same columns. Then you can create one filter and filter through many boards at the same time. In my case, I just have the deals board for now. So let me click deals and it works exact same as a normal filter. So we say where status is not lost and won. And there you go. Here in the background, you see only the proposal status is still available. We can then filter this by clicking filter again and saving the filter. By saving the filter, it will actually show up here. And even if you were to refresh it, it will stay there. And this is actually a great and important thing to create the right dashboards for you and your team. So let me show you a few more widgets that are actually interesting to show. So if we add another widget, as you've just seen in the settings section, there are a lot of different chart types. So we go for pie charts, line charts, but also things like a stacked bar chart, which is also very interesting. Let me show you what that means. So if we click stacked bar, as you can see, no data was found. If you go to the x-axis, we can do whatever we want here. So we can, for example, let's see, there you go. It already started stacking by a person, but I have no information in our person column yet. So I turned it off. And this is always with dashboard. Sometimes there are some settings that you just need to adjust to make sure that your dashboard is correct. So in my case, this looks like a normal bar chart as we've just seen. But the interesting thing is that you can have like sections within your bar. So let's go back to my original board, my deals board. And in this board, I'm going to connect a few persons to get some test data. So let's say these are all connected to Patrick. These are all connected to John. And then in the lost deals, we'll do the same thing. These are connected to Patrick and these are connected to John. Now what we can do in our new dashboard, we go to the settings again, we can stack it by the people column. So as you can see, for all the lost deals, 4 are related to Patrick and 4 are related to John. And this is how you use stacked bar charts. Very interesting thing. You can also do similar things with line charts. So there's also, what you will see is with each chart, you'll see different type of widget settings. So I would recommend just clicking on all of them and seeing if you like them and what you can do with them. They're all a little bit different and they all have their own unique features. If you want to add more interesting widgets, you can also click add widgets again. By the way, there's a limit of 30 widgets, so you can do quite a lot, but not everything. You can click add widget. You can go for a numbers widget, for example. Here we see a number. At the moment, I have no clue what this number means. But if we go to the settings of this numbers widget, we can see what it means. So apparently it decided to sum up all of the deal values. But we can also say we want to see the average of the deal values. And the average of deal values is in dollars, or maybe it's in stones, for example. We can add some information there. Like there's a lot of interesting things you can do there. You can play around with it yourselves. You can also count, for example, so we can have 18 items in this case. But we can also say, let's say each item would be a deal. So we call 18 deals, or we go for 18 open deals. But then we of course need to add a filter. This is how you start playing around with dashboards and actually how you can create your own dashboards. Same thing with sub items, you can connect them if you want to. Let's also go to customize. Same thing here, you see a lot of customization related things, such as about the decimals. By default it's automatic, but you can also put it in manual mode and you can play around with the amount of decimals that you can see. So this is some stuff that you can play around with in the numbers widget. I really like that one. Another interesting widget is the battery chart. This is one of the famous ones of Monday. It's basically like a bar chart, but you would see like in a battery how far we are with the project. Same thing here with the settings, you can adjust your battery chart. We have Gantt charts, files galleries, you can also add apps. But if you go to more widgets, you actually see everything that Monday has to offer with regards to dashboards. Same thing here, I recommend clicking on all of them. Some will feel very familiar, some are unique to dashboards. So I'd say play around with them, click on them and see what they can do. One of the options that I love most is the text one actually. So if we type text here, you'll see that text shows up. If we click add widget, you'll see some text. You might think, well, why does this matter? I don't see it. Well, let me show you. If we were to create sections in our dashboards, so let's say one section is about deals, then we can actually show that in a very nice way. So just type whatever you want to type and make it bold. Give it a nice little color, such as red, and make it very big, such as 72. Then we're going to center this one and we're going to stretch it and make it as long and big as possible, like this. We click on the name of the widget, we remove it, and we just enter a space, and then we click enter. Now, if you drag this to the top, we actually have a nice deal section. So we can see, oh, for the deals, all these widgets are related to it. And now if we duplicate it, we could say, well, the next section of our dashboard is about leads. And you would see all the information about leads. And this is how you can create sections within your dashboard to make it as useful as possible. The next thing about dashboards is about the dashboard engine. By default, the dashboard engine is just set to the default engine, which is the old one, but there's also a new dashboard engine. This is especially helpful if you have a lot of data in your boards that you want to put into a dashboard. So let me show you. If you click on the top right on these 3 dots, you'll actually see the option to upgrade to the new dashboard engine. So let's click there, and there you go. Usually takes a few seconds. Now what you might notice is that these things have shown up for each dashboard widget when it was last refreshed, and a refresh button. If you click here, it will refresh and will get the latest data from your board and refresh the dashboard widget. But if you have, thousands or tens of thousands of rows and items in your board, it will take very long if you want this to be real time. So if every change is made, it needs to update the dashboard. That will take very long time and will be very slow. That's why they have this. So you can refresh each thing individually, or at the top right, you can automatically refresh every single time period. So we can, for example, refresh the dashboard every 30 minutes or every day. What we can also do is refresh the whole dashboard in one go by clicking here, and it will start refreshing the whole dashboard. So that's what you need to know about the new dashboard engine. Another thing you need to know about dashboards is more about filtering. So we already talked about filtering for one specific dashboard widget, but there's also an option to filter through the whole board with actually these two options. One is to filter on people. So let's say this is actually a deals board and you want to make sure that you only see deals that are related to a person. You just click on that person and all the widgets will refresh to only showcase data for that person. Great if you're with a person and you want to show how this person is doing. But you can do the same thing with normal filters. Works the same way as a normal board filter, so you can filter whatever you want. You can switch to either quick filters, like you might be used to, or you can use advanced filters. Both are possible. If you adjust things here, keep in mind that it will affect all of the widgets. So if you don't see certain data, just check all your filters and make sure all the data filters are set up correctly. Another way to filter is by using the text box. I personally don't use this that often, but technically you can filter on literally anything. So for example, we have a deal called CRM setup. Now we can type CRM setup here, and then all the dashboard charts will be filtered with regards to the CRM setup. But maybe we only want to see deals with the word CRM in there. I don't know if there's more. Let's see. Yep, there are. So now we can see all the information of CRM related deals. To know what it's filtering on, you can click on the search options. And here you see all the columns that it's searching through. I recommend to keep this one as low and small as possible, because the more columns it needs to filter through, the longer it will take. So if you only want to search through the name, I would turn off everything else, because then searching will be way faster. You can also save this search if you want to by clicking on this save icon, and then it will automatically save this to your dashboard. In my case, I won't filter on anything for now. The next thing you need to know about dashboards is that you can share them with external people. This could either be people in your team or clients, for example. You can do that with the export button. If you click export, you can actually export it to PDF. So you can just, generate a PDF and send it to someone else. If you do that, you can click export to PDF. You have some nice options, portrait mode, landscape mode, and some things about what it should look like. If you click export, within a few seconds, sometimes a minute or so, it's exported. Depends on how much data is in there. So if you click here, you can actually see it's now exported as a PDF. Looks pretty cool. However, maybe you want to do this on a weekly, daily, or monthly basis. You can now do that as well. If you go to export again and you go schedule PDF export, you can actually send an email every, for example, day or week. So here we see when do we want to send it. In this case, for example, every week on Monday and let's say Friday. You can also do every month on certain days or every day. Let's go for Monday and Friday. And you can, for example, within what time frame should it be sent. Then here you can see who it should be sent to. Could be a person, could be a whole team in Monday, a subject line, text in the email, and also the information about the PDF layout. Then you can click schedule. So if you select the subject line, you can click schedule, and then the PDF will automatically be sent on a weekly basis to the people that you've entered there. It's a pretty interesting new feature of Monday. I think it's a valuable one if you want to keep your stakeholders up to date. One of the great things people don't know about is about using formulas in dashboards. This is actually a very powerful feature of Monday, and it means that you can, well, as I said, use formulas in a dashboard. So let's create a formula in our deals board. Let's say, we have a deal value, and let's add a numbers column and go for something like probability. We'll give it, a percentage like this. And I'll go through that relatively quickly. Then we'll just add a formula column. And what we're going to do, is we're going to say it's, deal value times probability. There you go. And as you can see, we now have a value here. Well, you can actually use this value of your formula in dashboards. So if we go back to our dashboard and we go, for example, to our numbers widget, you can click the three dots, go to settings, And now, as you can see, the formula will show up. So as you can see, I select formula, and now you can actually see, you leverage a formula column in your dashboards. Well, this is super helpful because with formula columns, you can do a lot. So I would highly recommend that you check this out because some of the most advanced dashboards have been created with formula columns. And as I said at the beginning of this video, if you want to see dashboard examples, I've actually created a document with over 30 dashboard examples that you can look into right now by looking into the link in the description below. So we're now going to talk about connecting multiple boards to one dashboard. At the top, as you can see, I've only connected one dashboard or board right now. But if I want to connect multiple boards, I can do that from here. Just click on another one and click done. And what you'll see is it's now added to all this connected widgets. It's because here it has this add newly selected boards to all existing widgets option. But if you, for example, have a deals board and a marketing related tasks board in one dashboard, most of the time you don't want to include them in the same widgets because, deal related information has nothing to do with marketing related information. So a deal value, for example, is not a column that you would have on a marketing tasks board. Therefore, things can get very tricky very quickly. So what I would recommend is that when you add more columns or more boards, that you turn this off if the new board is not related to the existing widgets. So we click here and we're going to add our marketing tasks board. Where is it? Marketing tasks. There you go. So click done. Now the deals boards are still the same, but we also have another option. If we add, for example, widget, what I've already talked about is in the settings section, you have boards. So if you want to see, for example, only tasks from a specific board, you can do that by turning them on and off here. So keep that in mind. Another thing that you'll see when you start filtering is that the all boards thing becomes more relevant. As I said earlier, if you have similar boards or boards that are the exact same, filtering through multiple of them is actually quite easy because all columns are the same. But if the columns are radically different, it's actually nearly impossible to use like a filter. You would need to filter them individually, otherwise it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So keep that in mind when you start filtering. If you were to connect multiple boards into one dashboard widget, you can do so, but there's something you need to keep in mind. If you go to the settings of this widget, for example, where we have both boards connected, what you see in the x-axis is that we have a status column. And by default, Monday will just select 2 status columns, one for each board. But maybe it's using the wrong one for one of the boards. We can check that by going to the 1 by 1 section. And for each individual board, we can now select which column it should be using. So for marketing tasks, for example, maybe we don't want to use the status column, but we want to use something else, like a date. There you go. But what you'll see is they need to be compatible. So if one goes for a date column, the other one cannot go for a status column most of the time. But it could be that, for example, here on the marketing task, we want to use the status column. And here we want to use the last reason column. Or maybe it's set up automatically by Monday like that. And then your dashboard will look a bit weird. So it's very important that you check this 1 by 1 section and don't just assume that Monday is always connecting the right status columns for you. The same is true with columns on the y-axis and just all the columns in general if you start working with multiple boards. Another thing I want to show you is how you can have multiple values on the y-axis to show in one dashboard. So let me show you. So let's say we have a deals board and we want to have both the deal value and the value times probability column in one place. Well, we can actually do that. So in this case, as you can see on the board section, I've only connected the deals board. On the x-axis, I've only connected the status column. And on the y, I'm going to go to the 1 by 1 section, turn off the count items. I'm going for deal value and the formula. And now what you'll see here is we have 2 values next to each other. I'll put myself to the right hand side. There you go. So we have the deal value and the formula. Actually super helpful. We can also then turn this into an average, so we can actually see the average of the data, and then things become actually quite interesting. As you can see, I have no sample value here, so that's to 0. But this is actually how you can automatically, or how you can put multiple values on the y-axis. So this is actually a very interesting one to keep in mind. By the way, if you use formula columns, as you can see here, there's no nice dollar sign, just like it would be here. This is actually possible because if you go to your board and go to the formula, you can click here on the column summary. If you click there, you can actually connect, for example, a dollar sign. Or you can also go for euros, pounds, whatever you prefer. But now I connected the dollar sign. And if I now go to the dashboard, you'll actually see that, boom, there's a $sign here as well. Now I'd like to talk to you about the limitations of Monday's dashboard. The first limitation is that you cannot use benchmark lines that are different for each period. So let me show you what I mean. If you have a date column on the x-axis, you have the option to group by something. So you can group by week, month, day, quarter, or year. As you can see here, I've done it by week. So if I have a weekly target, for example, in my case, let's say for this example, we would say $30,000 is our weekly target. Then we can add a nice benchmark line for $30,000 target. And this is all great and fun. But if your target changes over time, so let's say this was Q1 and this was Q2, then this doesn't make sense, because Q1 might have a $30,000 target, where Q2 might have a $45,000 target. At the time of recording, it's unfortunately not possible to have a different target for each, part of the x-axis. Hopefully this is a feature Monday is going to add soon, but it's not available now. However, if you want to have this, there are apps in the marketplace that do this for you. One of those apps is actually called Auto Boost. So if you go to the app marketplace and type Auto Boost, not Auto Boost, Dash Boost, you will actually find Dash Boost. And Dash Boost does have this option. Let me show you in the video. I think it's here. There you go. So here you see benchmark line, benchmark line, benchmark line, and a benchmark line. So if you have, for example, sales targets for your team, I recommend checking out this app. Another limitation is that you cannot work with formula columns with calculations within your Monday dashboard. So it's not possible to say, for example, well, we have 10 items on the events board and 10 items on the deals board, and we want to do 10 times 10 to get the total, for example. That's not possible. Now, this is quite a silly example, like you would never want to do that, but there's actually quite a few situations where you would want to make a calculation within your dashboard, but that's not possible right now. It's also possible with the same Dash Boost app. So what I'll show you right now, what they have done, which I think is quite cool, is they have created something like this, which is a calculator within your dashboard. So you can do actual calculations with numbers, and you can, for example, 8 times 6 minus the amount of projects. So there's all types of interesting calculations you can do there. One could be, for example, your average customer lifetime value. Let's say it's $100 times the amount of customers that you have. And then you can figure out, some numbers that could be interesting. So this is actually a great way to surpass that limitation of Monday that it has right now. And last and final limitation I want to share with you guys is that you can only connect 20 boards to a dashboard on the Monday's Pro plan. On the Monday Enterprise plan right now, it's actually set to 50. And I believe that if you contact support, you can actually get it up to 60. They're going to make some changes to upgrade this to 200 boards that you can connect to one dashboard. And probably in the future, it will be even more. But as of now, this is actually a hard limitation. It's especially annoying on the Pro plan. So keep this in mind when you start generating dashboards. So if you have one dashboard, make sure you can only connect it to 20 smaller boards, 20 normal boards. And if you want to go to 21, you'll run into that limit and it will prompt you to upgrade to Enterprise. While this could be a good solution for you, it might also be too expensive for your business at the time. So keep this in mind when you start generating your boards, because if you, for example, want to see your client overview board and you have more than 20 clients, you'll run into the limit of putting all that data into one dashboard. So keep that in mind. The final thing that I want to share about Monday's dashboard is that there's some interesting widgets that you can add that are a little bit hidden. So if you click Add Widget and go to More Widgets, when you scroll through it, you might see a few, but the few ones that I really like are, for example, they're all apps by Monday. So for example, we have an interesting one called the funnel chart. This is only available on the CRM plan. It's actually a super helpful widget. Another thing I like a lot is the goals one. I highly recommend you check it out. But they're adding some cool new widgets every single time. I think one of the most popular ones is the llama farm. It's one of those funny little widgets to make your board a lot more fun, where each item would be a llama and they would just be walking around. So I highly recommend that you check it out, that you play around with it. And I think overall, if you want to learn Monday in and out, just click on everything. Just try it out. Click on Add Widget, add all the widgets that they have, play around with it, figure out what they can do, because that's the best way to learn. And that's actually the best way to learn in general, and also how I learned Monday.com. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please leave a like. It would help me a lot. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. I'll try to answer all of them to help you as much as possible. As I said earlier in the video, if you need help with the custom implementation, you can reach out to me via the link in the description. And if you want to get the 30 free dashboard examples, you can also find it in the link in the description. Now, to add even more free stuff, if you want to receive free weekly tips, you can actually sign up for my free Monday newsletter, which you can also find in the description. And that was actually all I have to say for now. I hope you liked it a lot, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye-bye.